So we've been here for 50-something years, and Grand Lake's a big part of our history. We've kind of become a part of Grand Lake's history, I guess. I've been here building, mostly log and stone and such. We've built 48 homes now since I got here in '71. And several big things have happened, part of my history. The building of log homes is one. Becoming a Christian here is another. And the last few decades, I've done a lot of racing, Nordic ski racing, bike racing, and such. And those three, there's a lot of other things too. Those three things, I can tell you a whole lot about. There are things that I've learned a lot about and have figured things out on to a rather great degree. The log homes, this is one of them. I got rid of my crew for a period of time and built this together with the kids. And it took us off and on doing other projects here and there to catch up financially. It took 20 years to do this, and we'll go ahead to the next picture. That's it now. So it's changed vastly. We have another home in Columbine Lake, and we lost it. We're in the process of rebuilding it now. But this one we built together with the kids. And go back to the first one if you would. You see the volleyball court and such, lower left. And you can't see much of it, but my wife Joan, she's at the rear there. Sick, so stay away from her. Hello, Brenda.
Hi.
Have a seat. And Hal, how are you?
Good.
So we built this together with the kids. Took a couple decades, and we almost lost it. And a lot of people seeing this proclaim it a miracle.
Tell us how you didn't lose it.
The way we did not lose it was not a miracle. Like I said, I know quite a bit about several of these subjects. A miracle is something that you absolutely can't deny, no matter who you are. A biblical miracle, and this could be denied. A biblical miracle, skeptics and critics have to say, it cannot be denied. A noteworthy miracle has taken place here, which is in Acts. This, as much as some would like to call it a miracle, wasn't. You can go to the next picture, if you would. We put a sprinkler atop the house and a tractor on the river behind the house that's under the sprinkler also. If we'd lost electricity and had this pump, we would have lost the house. Back it up one. Thank you. The left side, that's the southwest. It's basically south. The firestorm came from the southwest and blew most of the water to the northwest. That's why those trees are alive. The majority of our sprinkler water was blown northwest. We have charring on the southwest end of the house there. The sprinkler pumps 6 gallons a second. That's a bathtub, a big bathtub, every 7 or 8 seconds. It's 360 gallons per minute. It covers 3 acres. But almost all of it blew off to the northeast there and saved those trees. So we're in a very good situation compared to what we could have been. This entire town is in a very good situation compared to what it was almost in. It was on the very edge. I know that there were firefighters up here. the fire didn't come here, just bits and pieces of it the next day, kind of working this way from where the fire, you know, the real fire went through. So the town and all of the people on the highway leaving the town, fire got close. I mean, it got really close, across the highway. Just 1 or 2 degrees difference, and quite a few of us, or at least those of us who are full-time locals, probably wouldn't be here. Would have fried on the highway. But moving on to some other things, I don't have a plan here. I know lots of interesting stuff of Grand Lake 50 years ago, and we'll move on into some of this, and if it triggers a memory for me or any of you, say something. This is on the golf course road. This is today. Does anyone recognize it? All right. The next shot is 50 years before, from the same place. And so is the next one. Back up to. Thank you, Will. Yes, this is a home that belonged to Ray Vandekar. Anyone know the name? All right. Yeah. The ones that I thought might, and only. Go ahead. One more. That's Ray Vandekar. He owned Alpine Log Homes with one other man, Keith Robinson. This is who I worked for when I moved here. Anyone know Ed Hobbs? Grand Lake Log Homes? Ed and I worked for Ray Vandekar and Keith Robinson when we moved here in 1971. And Ed moved to Montana with them and worked for several years with Alpine Log Homes, which became the largest log home builder in the world. And then Ed moved back here and started Grand Lake Log Homes, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. Ed and I grew up across the street from each other in Houston. I met him when I was 10 years old. He was 13, 14, I don't know. Anyway, we've known each other nearly all our lives, and he's supposed to be here. No Ed.
He was in Denver today.
Okay, good excuse. I haven't seen Ed in at least 10 years. I'd like to have seen him tonight. Ray Vandekar, when I moved here, was an old man. He was 47. Which is just unbelievable to me. I moved here, this was probably taken when I was 20. Keith Robinson was almost as old. I think he was 31. So, go ahead, Will. Anybody recognize this? It's right over here, a block and a half or so. Used to be called the Thompson Building. Maybe it still is. The band building? Is that what it came to be known as? Yeah, right. The next picture?
Did you build this one?
50 years before, there it is.
Oh.
Ed and I worked for Grand Lake Log Homes then. That's Ed. That's his back right there in the red shirt.
Got a hairdo like you.
Back it up one, please. Up top there, to the left, is Keith Robinson. No one remembers Keith other than maybe Dickie here?
I just barely ever knew him.
Yeah, okay. All right. The other one is Bill Lemon. Billy Lemon. Lemon Lodge. I've never in my life met anyone like Lemon. I don't know how to describe him. There were a lot of outrageous characters in Grand Lake back then. What do I say, Dickie? Tell them about Lemon. This. I'll give you a moment. This, for instance, I was driving up the curve at Southways. What's it called now? Gateway.
Yeah.
Southways Lodge. Driving up the Grand Lake curve there in July, and Billy Lemon came passing cars down the curve on its snowmobile. With, obviously it looked like a pair of arc welders. And he was passing people coming down the curve in July. So that's the sort of guy he was. He, there's another slide that I'll go into Billy Lemon a little further with. Dickie?
The only thing about Billy Lemon is he had polio as a kid. And he was pretty severely crippled, but he walked. And he sewed a leather patch onto the bad leg of his pants. And so he always had his hand down there to support him. So he'd walk like this. He'd get around.
He basically would walk on one leg and one arm.
Yeah, and he did anything he wanted to do. Nothing stopped him. And I think you could about attribute the Wheeler Park handicap program to Billy, because he was up there skiing back in those days. And I think a lot of them might have evolved from that. But he was something else, but he was crazy.
Is he still around?
Oh no, he died years ago. I think he died at 39.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he died young. But yeah, he was very much a part of Grand Lake. He was part of the Grand Lake of the 70s. The guy behind Dickie here, Bruce Knight, described this time in a way that I can't. You're probably not comfortable telling people about the difference in hippies here and everywhere else.
I'm from back east, initially upstate New York, and oddly enough, Grand Lake, I liked it because of the characters. I mean, people were so nuts. I mean, there were, Bulldoggy, there were all sorts of folks, Paul McDonald. I never met Billy Lemon, but one time I was driving a Grand Lake log home load to Clark over by Steamboat, and we were building for this fella, and Billy lived over there, and there was a dump truck in the middle of the river there, the Elk River. So I asked the owner, how did the dump truck get in the middle of the river? And he said, well, this guy named Billy Lemon was driving a dump truck across a 20-ton dump truck across a 10-ton bridge. And it destroyed the bridge, and that's why the dump truck was in the middle of the river. That's how crazy Billy was.
And he's probably still cheering about that.
Yeah.
This guy, he'd buy a truck and would not change the oil. He was known for that, ever. It was in there, he'd add to it, but would not change his oil. He expected it to last as long as and it may have, last as long as he planned on lasting. So, go ahead. This is Keith Robinson. I just ran into the obituary a few days ago. I put it on here only because I suppose someone here might know him. But since no one does, we'll move on. This is, anyone know a Bill Hillier?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. This is Bill Hillier's house out County Road 41 by Trail Mountain. A Grand Lake log home again. And next, Will, just another shot. To me, from being from Texas, I was used to fields of bluebonnets. The dandelion, I didn't know then that they weren't native, but it was amazing to me to see fields of yellow. It was beautiful. I hate them now. Go ahead. Same place, Bill Hillier's, Billy Lemon's crane. Lemon would operate the crane, pulling the logs off the truck. He'd swing it back. We'd all have to duck and dodge. At one point, you'll see the hair I'm talking about in a minute. He caught my hair with the log tongs, swinging and pulled me off that trailer that you see in the truck on the right. And just laughed about it. This is also my first sight of another character, a guy named Ralph Birchfield. Anyone know Nasty Ralph? Okay, yeah. I didn't meet Ralph here. The first I ever saw him was pictures. And he had just returned from Vietnam. Bill Lemon was a friend of his. And Lemon was showing everyone the pictures. And this is, I'm not saying this because it's funny, it's just my first impression of Nasty Ralph. he was holding a Viet Cong head in each hand. And it made him happy. He was holding a head in each hand with a smile. This guy was really, I got along with him fine, but a lot of people didn't. Dickie didn't. Anything to say about Ralph?
We tangled a couple times. One and one.
And it all came down to who had been drinking the most, or the least, I think it was. Testosterone was flowing through the streets of Grand Lake back then. It was a time when the bikers would show up, not like they do now. Swarms of Harley bikers. To the degree that, does anyone here remember when Grand Lake shut the town down because of it? And when they had locals deputized with rifles up on the hillsides outside of town? John Roan was one of them.
Yeah, Eddie George.
Yeah. John Roan was another one that
Another one character.
is notable. Ted Redling back here bought his home next to us and lives in John Henry Roan, colorful name even, who was around back then. Go ahead, we'll see what else we think of. Above here on Tunnel Road, Don James, his home. It was the first or second home I ever built after working for Grand Lake Log Homes. And Dickie worked on that with me.
Yeah.
Long
I got a story
ago.
about him and his long hair on that job too.
Oh, I'd forgotten. Tell it.
Well, there was a staircase
Quickly.
going up there. Jimmy needed to drill holes through it horizontally. And it was in under the stairs, and he worked around and couldn't get in behind the drill. Big 1-inch drill, you pull the trigger and it takes them a while to wind up, so when you release them, it takes them a while to wind down. Well, Jimmy got in there, couldn't get behind it, so he got under it and put the drill up behind his head like this and was drilling, and then all of a sudden his hair caught in the drill and he released, but in the meantime it scalped him right along the side. I was standing right next to her and I just saw the red appear as the hair left.
Oh, it hurts thinking about it. That brings to mind another hurt. There's a guy back there, Hal Simmons. I built his home in the 80s, probably a picture of him on here in a minute, and was driving spikes and with a big sledge and holding spikes, driving it with one hand, and the handle caught in my pocket. And as I was driving the spike, I had my hand down flat, just holding it with my palm. The log was like an anvil, and I sledged my finger and it squirted it out from there into the glove. So I had skin there, but every bit of bone, joint, nail bit, all the rest of it squirted out into my glove. I did manage to get it all to the doctor with me, and it's like it never even happened. But I thought I was going to die for days. It was the most painful thing. Remember that, Hal?
I do.
Go ahead.
That reminds me of a Ralph Hirschfield story, where he was out doing something in the woods with a saw and he whacked his finger off. And he had this stinking ugly pit bull dog. And Dr. McGrath, he looked at the doctor and said, "Hey Ralph, where's your finger? I can saw it back on." He goes, "Left hander, my dog."
That was Sam.
Sam, the bull, yeah, the pit bull. All right, let's go.
Jimmy?
Yes.
The James house, they were the owners of the Grand Lodge. The people ones there.
Yeah.
His.
No, Don James, Ted James owned the lodge.
Ted James owned the lodge. Was his brother.
Right.
Didn't they own it together?
No, he owned in Estes Park, the travel company.
You're right. That's right. Jimmy built the house over there.
Yeah, Don James had the, his main company was, I think, in Boulder, the travel agency. Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I built his home here, and then I built 2 homes for the sons of his in Boulder, up above Boulder. Long ago. This is out on Grand Lake Log Homes log lot. And go one more picture. That you saw on the log lot is underneath this. This is Ed Hobbs' home in Columbine Lake on Deer Drive. So the small wings off the main structure, that's it. Underneath that. It was a home they built on the log lot with logs that they needed to use for something. Ed ended up buying it and building this larger log home long, long ago in Columbine Lake. Go ahead. That is Ed with the level. Forever ago.
Yeah.
It's also someone may know Bill Carr or Randy Duncan. Randy Duncan is on the left. All of what is it? Shadow Mountain Estates. They owned everything above Crescent Camp or Cassandra's Cabins, all up above there. I used to plow the snow on their roads for them up there back in the early 70s. But that's Ed Hobbs with the level there. Go ahead. That's Ed Hobbs on the left. I really threw this in only because I thought he might be here. And that's me on the right. Go ahead. What's that? That's Ed again. This is Grand Lake Log Homes log lot, which is up where Winding River Campground is. The teepee in the back, Joan and I back there lived in for a spring, summer, and fall. A guy named Hans, that was his teepee. And Joan and I and our first son moved in there with him because we didn't have anywhere to stay for a while.
It was really fun.
This is exactly, I'll let Joan get done complaining. That is a miracle. I came here with Joan. I'm still with Joan. TP and all. That's the same shot today.
Oh.
Back it up one. Let's say forward. Up, back.
Right there.
See the mountain in the background? This is right there at the base of North Supply, just as you head up North Supply Road. That's what it looked like 50 years ago.
Wow.
50 plus years ago.
That's great.
Right there.
3 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Winding River Ranch. This is Elaine Bussey's chapel. Anybody recognize that? Yeah. One more shot today. Same place, same mountains behind. It's gone. Got 2 moose there. This is from the Ivy's house in Grand Lake, directly across from Sombrero Stables. It's where Joan and I lived. The first place that we rented. We stayed with Ed before this, but this is where we live. That's Sombrero Stables, and that's Grand Lake Estates. You're looking out at the ball field and elementary school.
And one house on Shadow Mountain.
And one house there.
And the post office and the go-karts, that's what we're looking at here.
Right.
Unbelievable, one home.
And I think they're taking the
What they're doing there is the church, Community Church of the Rockies, just taking that out, and we bought that, and we're gonna turn it into the church, and we'll keep the stables, the barn, and then we'll build onto it.
Interesting. Huh.
So we're keeping the
Keeping the
feel
town.
of Grand Lake.
Ah, great. I see. Yeah. At this point, Joan would walk to see friends over on the channel. That's where Ed and some others lived, the Grand Lake Channel. The roads weren't plowed. There was a beaten down footpath from there at the stables over to the channel at that point that Joan used to walk. Go ahead. Anybody recognize that shot? That's Cascade Mountain above Vagabond Ranch. That's like 40-something miles from here, but as the crow flies, it's only 8. I built, for this kids' camp out there, I built 4 buildings over the years for them. Some of them along with the kids. I was just there coaching them in the building and such. For the owner, Charlie Pavick, back then. I used to walk home from Vagabond Ranch over the Porphyry Peaks and such, Blue Ridge, Cascade Mountain, to Grand Lake back then.
Just walk home?
It was beautiful, yeah.
Wow.
And to this day, I think the best nap I've ever taken in my life was up on top, halfway home.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was just absolutely beautiful. I was not entirely intelligent. I would do that thinking I'm a mountain man. I'd walk right through the streams, walk right across the Colorado River once I got here, soaked and feet blistered from walking in wet boots, but I was a mountain man. This is one of the buildings at Vagabond Ranch. This was for Charlie Pavick. It burned years and years ago. It's gone. Up top there is a guy named, it's Hans again, and another one, John Vergona, and probably only the same 2 or 3 know of these old characters, but
Dennis back there will know all these people.
Go ahead, Will. That's John Vergona in the middle. I just threw it in because I thought some others might show up here tonight. Peter Mancuso.
Holy cow.
Okay.
There's some characters around here.
Uh-oh. There's the mountain man.
Yeah.
That's the hare that got caught in the drill. I don't know whether that shot or the next is more embarrassing.
Is that at Vagabond too?
That's at Vagabond. That's one that that I built together with their kids. These were rich kids from back east, senators' children and such. 100-something of them. And I built for more than one owner of the camp back then.
Right, the same joints you were showing us.
Oh, except the kids did these.
Oh, okay.
So they look pretty
I,
good.
yeah, they don't look too bad, but I'm not sure I'll own them.
Oh,
The mountain man again, unscalped. Go ahead. This is directly across from the Vandekar house that I showed you on the golf course road. This was a home owned by Viola Lamar. Joan and I bought this and 3 lots. There were 4 total for $14,000. Money was, there was a different value on it back then. But
We didn't have a bathroom, that might have helped.
that might have added to the price. Yeah, there was no bathroom, no running water. We heated, we went after water like we went after groceries, and we would heat it on the stove and bathe each other off the back porch.
wow.
Mountain man had mountain mama.
That's right. So there's your miracle again. She's still here. That was our first son, Aaron. And here on the right in the yard, I had some downtime. I had some logs. I built a place. There's another couple shots of it here. I ended up taking this place and doing a bunch of horse trading with Danny Hahn. Anybody know Dan Hahn? And Johnny Rohn. And trading lots for cars, for log shells and such. I ended up with property on the river downstream from where I live now, across from Wild Acres subdivision. We horse traded back and forth, and I ended up with 8 acres down there. We now have 148, 147 of it burned. The only acre that did not burn in the forest fire is what you saw at our lodge earlier. Everything else burned. We have 9 parcels, including that one that we traded for across the river, plus the one on this side of the river that borders the golf course that the lodge is on. 147 of the 148 burned, and I'm still in the process of logging that year after year after, because I don't like the way everybody else does it. So the troublesome fire has dominated my life for years now. Go ahead. That's the house in the yard, and Joan and the little boy back then. Go ahead. And me and Aaron. But that home is now on the golf course road, tucked back in behind some trees and other things. But it's over there right now. Go ahead. This is just another before and after shot. And I threw it in for fun, kind of. I looked at that and thought, God, I'm getting old. Not there, but now. My beard I have not cut. And it's twice as long. So I've lost hair not only on my head, I mean, it's going away. Seriously, I hate getting old. That was our building tractor. You could lock one wheel and just spin round and round in one place. The kids used to love it, adults too. The adults I'd go ahead and make stand straight out. And a few of them would purposely let go. You probably did. 4th of July, same tractor, and they had a big party, 4th of July. This was the bicentennial in '76. And out at Vagabond Ranch, they hired a pipe band that came down right at dawn, down Hope Canyon through Hope Meadow above Vagabond Ranch, echoing off. I can still hear it today. It was truly awesome. Beautiful morning. They had the party and had all of these flags, and I took it all and wrapped the tractor in it, came home and drove it through town in the parade. There's a big flag on the end of that log that the tractor's holding. I wish I had a shot of it, of the whole thing, but don't.
I just want to point out what the buildings are.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the Wakanda on this side. The Texaco sign, that was at what is now Frida's house, the offices for the theater. And this, of course, is the Terrace Inn, the World's Inn Brew Club. So.
I don't know what's on there next. Will, go ahead. Oh, this is the house at the end of Tunnel Road. The Hulls. Did anyone know the Hulls? You guys don't raise your hands. Ron Hull. The Hull family, they had a place across Grand Lake they owned together with someone. It wasn't Dr. Batty, I don't think. Anybody know the Battys? We babysat this place for several years for them. In Colorado, it was in foreclosure and this and that, and the owners had to possess it. I had become a good friend of Ron Hull, the son of the owner, Ron Sr., so we lived here for several years in that home. We had our second son living here in the home. Way back then in the 70s, it had become kind of a fad to have your kids at home. And there were quite a few Homebuilders here in the area. Some names I know you'd probably recognize. Joan, do you remember any of them?
Remember who?
Any of the births here?
Oh, yeah, Janine.
Janine Green. Mark and Janine Green.
Barbara Allen. Todd, she married to Todd Allen.
Israel. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, just I had on my head more hair than I had brain in my head. So go ahead. Mac Cox, Andrea. Anybody know?
Sure.
Her dad had this truck, and we did some more horse trading for snowmobiles and old other old trucks and such. And I ended up with this old truck, Wilderness Tour. They used to do that out of Grand Lake. They used to drive it up Old North Supply and such, Old North Supply. Next shot, I gave it to my son. That's what he turned it into.
The same one?
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
I have 5 sons.
Wow.
One of the youngest one did this. He's won all kinds of little local auto shows and such with it, but I wish it was mine again. And I just threw that in. That one was mine back in '71.
That's
I'm sure that a couple of you recognize that one. Who's that?
Oh, hell.
Stand up, Hal. Let them see you now. Let them see you now. All right. This was a home in Columbine Lake that the troublesome fire took. It's gone. We're about done here. That's the fire that burned up, the house that burned up uninsured. And the next one is what we're putting up there now. And it's for sale. Anyone need a home in Columbine? Those are massive lots. That's a people at the bottom there.
So where is this house?
Same spot, just a different angle. This is what you were in the other day.
It is?
Yes, it is.
I don't remember.
Not that one. That one's gone.
That's Paul's, the one they lived in.
Okay.
The next one is what you walked
The
through.
same one.
That's it, right there.
Paul Lamoth had that first one go.
Paul Lamoth, he was the manager at the golf
Yeah, he was
course,
the
superintendent
superintendent
at the golf course here. And he owned that home that we bought back, I don't remember, we had it 25, 35, what, 28, 30 years, Joan? Raised and kids in it. Still had it. One of my sons was living there. It burned up. And he lost everything. Everything that he couldn't haul off in his car that night. Oh, did you guys read that? Any of you read that little paper?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was what happened that night. It was the strangest thing I've ever been through. Still going through it, actually. I think that's almost it. Janice? That's you on the left, Janice. Dickie? You have that yellow t-shirt on.
Yeah,
Hide it.
I'm kinda hidden
One
there.
forward there, Will. There he is. That's Dickie there to the left in the yellow shirt. And that's me with the yellow knees, looking as foolish as usual, dressed like a clown.
The Grand Lake Touring Classic, we called it back in those days. I started that race in about, I think, 1978 or 9, somewhere in there. The first tracks that were ever put on Grand Lake Golf Course. Ted Randall, myself, and Jim Lynch, Kerry Lynch's dad. We went out and we put 10 kilometers of a race course on the front 9. And we had people winding around all over, but it was a smashing success because we had a keg of beer. And some good prizes and food and stuff there, so it turned out really good at first. But then it went on for years. Janet, where's Janet? She ran it for years and years after that, as she managed the golf course up there.
Yeah, it turned into quite a race. Local little race like this, you get a cross section of it. Every level was there. Olympians have raced this. They're right here. There is a U.S. ski team guy on the far left, and there's Bill Reed, who is not related to me, who won the race. Behind me, the clown with the yellow knees. There's Dickie in the yellow shirt, and here on this far side, I think, is one of the leaders of the Fisher Marathon team. So anyway, high altitude, Grand Lake, all of this is very much a part of me and my history and such. I beat all of them except Bill Reed that day. And I beat because of high altitude and figuring out things to do. At high altitude is actually a disadvantage. But I beat Olympians doing this even. So that's why I say there are a few things I've stumbled onto knowledge about. The next one, please. Mountain biking all across the western states. Used to do the Western States Cup, which was Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico, Colorado, and I'm going to lead to something I'm not saying this, I mean, it's fun. I went for 10 years racing expert without being beat once. That put me in contact with a different level of people. Go to the next one. That's biking on Trail Ridge. There's an app on your phone or computer, whatever, called Strava. Some of you might be familiar with it. All of the better cyclists and such have Strava and can compare each other's times on different mountain passes and segments and this and that. And anyway, I've done this stuff at a really high level for a long time, and because of that, have met some really exceptional people. Some of them who are world-class, not just athletes, but scholars and such. And that's why I want to move quickly to this, and we'll be done. Some of these guys teach at Oxford. Some of these guys, tell me, imagine this. Any of you play chess ever, even now or so? Imagine this, playing someone blindfolded with someone telling you the moves, and you have to remember every move and respond to that without ever seeing the board. Imagine doing that against two people at once and remembering both. This guy that I know, connected through all of this, is from New Zealand and can play 12 people at once, remembering every move of all 12, and beat them, and then go to bed for a week. It's utterly draining. But this is a guy that I know, connected again through all of this. He's written a rebuttal to Richard Dawkins' book, Greatest Show on Earth, which is a very interesting book, both the book and the rebuttal. And a guy I took out to eat with him is another one that I met, who is at CSU. He's head of the College of Natural Sciences there now. And we've had some very interesting conversations. And one of the conversations that I have had with these guys, and I'm not going to go on through others, there are more, that because of this, I've met and spent a good bit of time with. One of the guys I bike with for hours at a time in Fort Collins still. And this is a conversation that I had with him that I wish that I could have with my dad, who was an atheist, and my mother an agnostic. That's how I was raised. And I've discussed these things with these guys. This is back to what I began with, what's a miracle, what's not a miracle and such. This isn't about miracles, but it's about life on earth and my history. And what I brought up to these guys that left them still not really knowing how to talk about such things was that I am a Christian, and I, like every one of you, I am an agnostic. That's where you're at, know it or not. There's no way around it if we don't use the word as it is trending now, but by its actual definition and the way it was once used. We are all agnostic, every one of us here. And we are going to, at some point, decide whether we are by faith going to live our lives as atheists or as theists. And I've chosen to live as a theist, and having looked into it a lot, the flavor I've chosen of that, the one that seems to be most likely correct by faith, I accept that it is Christianity. We've come to call it that, not after Christ died and for some time after. It wasn't called that. It was just Judaism. And they became such a separated sect that later they became identified as Christ ones or Christians. Anyway, I'm not going any further into it than that, because I don't want anyone to feel like they were ambushed at all. But these are things that are part of my history and are extremely important to me, which is why I couldn't resist bringing it up. So if any of you